My brother tried to ruin my marriage by spreading lies to my husband because I didn't take sides between him and his fiancée, and now we're no longer speaking. I, 28F, am dealing with a complicated situation involving my older brother Jacob, 32, and his fiancée Jenna, 29. Growing up, Jacob and I were very close. Our parents worked long hours and weren't around much, so we relied on each other for support and companionship. We shared a lot of experiences together, from helping each other with homework to comforting each other during tough times. Jacob always took his role as the older brother seriously, sometimes being a bit overprotective, but I appreciated his care and concern. When Jacob started dating Jenna 3 years ago, I was happy for him. He had been through some difficult relationships in the past, and Jenna seemed to make him happy. At first, Jenna and I got along well enough. We weren't best friends, but we could have pleasant conversations when we saw each other at family gatherings or when I visited their apartment. However, as time went on, I began to notice things about Jenna that made me uncomfortable. She seemed very possessive of Jacob, always wanting to know where he was and who he was with. If Jacob and I made plans to hang out, just the two of us, Jenna would often find a way to join us or would make Jacob feel guilty about spending time with me. I tried to brush it off at first, thinking maybe she was just insecure in their relationship and needed time to adjust. But as Jacob and Jenna's relationship became more serious, it became clear that Jenna was actively trying to isolate Jacob from our family, especially me. She would make negative comments about me to Jacob when I wasn't around, saying things like I was too dependent on him or that I was trying to interfere in their relationship. These comments started to affect Jacob's behavior towards me. He became more distant, canceling our plans more often and seeming less interested in our conversations. The situation escalated when Jacob and Jenna got engaged a few months ago. They asked me to be a bridesmaid, and I agreed because I wanted to support Jacob despite my reservations about Jenna. However, as the wedding planning progressed, Jenna's behavior towards me worsened. She would criticize my suggestions for the wedding, make snide remarks about my appearance during dress fittings, and even try to exclude me from important planning meetings. I didn't want to cause any problems, so I kept my feelings to myself and tried to maintain a positive attitude. I didn't complain to Jacob because I knew how important this wedding was to him, and I didn't want to be seen as trying to create drama. Then, about a month ago, everything fell apart. Jacob called me late one night, angry and upset. He accused me of trying to sabotage his relationship with Jenna. According to him, Jenna had told him that I was spreading rumors about her cheating on him. He also said that Jenna thought I was jealous of their relationship and was trying to break them up. I was shocked and hurt by these accusations. I had never said anything like that about Jenna, and I certainly wasn't trying to break them up. In fact, I had been going out of my way to be supportive and keep my reservations about Jenna to myself. I tried to explain this to Jacob, but he wouldn't listen. He was completely convinced by Jenna's lies. Jacob demanded that I apologize to Jenna for what I had supposedly done. I refused, telling him that I had nothing to apologize for and that I wasn't going to lie just to make Jenna happy. This made Jacob even angrier. He told me that if I wasn't going to support his relationship, he would cut me out of his life. Then he said something that really scared me. He threatened to tell my husband, James, lies about me to make him see the real me. A few days later, I noticed that James was acting strangely when he came home from work. He was distant and seemed troubled. When I asked him what was wrong, he told me that Jacob had called him. According to James, Jacob had said that I had been acting suspiciously and hiding things from him. Jacob had even implied that I might be cheating on James, which was completely untrue. I was furious and heartbroken. I couldn't believe that my own brother would try to damage my marriage like that. I explained everything to James, telling him about the situation with Jacob and Jenna, and how Jenna had been trying to drive a wedge between Jacob and me. Thankfully, James believed me. He even called Jacob to confront him about the lies he had told, but this only made the situation worse. Since that incident, Jacob has completely cut me off. He won't answer my calls or respond to my messages. Jenna has been spreading more lies about me to our extended family, making me out to be the villain in this situation. Some family members have started treating me differently, and I can tell they believe Jenna's stories. This whole situation has been incredibly difficult for me. Jacob and I have always been close, and losing that relationship has been painful. I'm hurt by his willingness to believe Jenna's lies and his attempt to damage my marriage. I'm also angry at Jenna for manipulating my brother and turning him against me. I've tried reaching out to Jacob a few times, hoping we could talk things out, but he hasn't responded. I'm not sure what to do anymore. I love my brother and want to repair our relationship, but I can't keep dealing with Jenna's manipulations and lies. I'm worried about Jacob and the influence Jenna seems to have over him, but I also need to protect myself and my own marriage. This situation has made me reflect on our childhood and how our close relationship might have contributed to this problem. Maybe Jacob became too dependent on me, and Jenna saw that as a threat. Or maybe I was too involved in Jacob's life, and Jenna felt she needed to push me away to establish her place. Whatever the reason, I'm left feeling lost and unsure of how to move forward. Update 1. It's been about 3 weeks since I first wrote about the situation with my brother Jacob and his fiancée Jenna, and unfortunately, things have only gotten worse. After my initial post, I received many supportive messages and advice from people who had been in similar situations. Their words helped me feel less alone and gave me the courage to try reaching out to Jacob one more time. I thought that maybe with some time to cool off, Jacob might be more willing to listen to my side of the story. I hoped that he might have started to see through some of Jenna's manipulations. So, I decided to call him, planning to suggest that we meet in person to talk things out. When I called Jacob's number, Jenna answered the phone instead. Her voice was cold and hostile as she told me to leave them alone and that I wasn't welcome in their lives anymore. What hurt even more was that I could hear Jacob in the background. He didn't say anything or try to intervene. It was like Jenna was speaking for both of them, and Jacob was just going along with it. I ended the call feeling defeated and more isolated than ever. A few days after that disastrous phone call, I heard from a mutual friend that Jenna has been spreading even more lies about me to our extended family. She's been telling people that I'm actively trying to ruin their wedding and that my attempts to contact Jacob are because I'm jealous. According to her, I'm unhappy in my own marriage and can't stand to see Jacob and her so in love. These accusations are ridiculous and hurtful. While James and I have had our share of challenges like any married couple, we've always had a strong and loving relationship. We've been together for 5 years, and we've worked hard to build a life together. The idea that I would try to sabotage Jacob's happiness out of jealousy is absurd. What's even more painful is that Jacob isn't denying any of these lies. From what I've heard, he's either staying silent when Jenna makes these claims or actively agreeing with her. It's like he's completely forgotten who I am and our entire history together. I keep thinking back to all the times we supported each other growing up, and I can't understand how he could believe these terrible things about me. The situation has started to affect other areas of my life. I've been having trouble sleeping, often lying awake at night replaying conversations in my head and wondering if there was something I could have done differently. My work has been suffering too. I've been distracted and unfocused, making silly mistakes that I normally wouldn't make. James has been incredibly supportive throughout this whole ordeal. He's listened to me when I needed to talk, comforted me when I've been upset, and even offered to try talking to Jacob himself. But he's also helped me realize that I need to set some boundaries for my own well-being. After a long discussion with James, I've decided to cut contact with both Jacob and Jenna, at least for now. It's not an easy decision, and it hurts to think about not having my brother in my life. But I can't keep letting their toxic behavior affect me in my marriage. I need to focus on my own mental health and the relationships with people who treat me with respect and kindness. I've also started seeing a therapist to help me process everything that's happened. It's been helpful to have a neutral party to talk to, someone who can provide perspective and help me develop coping strategies. Through these sessions, I'm starting to understand that while I can't control Jacob's actions or beliefs, I can control how I respond to the situation. Some family members have reached out to me, asking about the situation or relaying things they've heard from Jacob and Jenna. I've decided to be honest but brief in my responses. I don't want to engage in the drama or try to defend myself against every accusation. Instead, I'm simply saying that there's been a misunderstanding and that I hope things will improve with time. For now, I'm trying to focus on the positive aspects of my life. I'm grateful for James and his unwavering support. I'm appreciating the friends and family members who have stood by me. And I'm trying to use this experience as an opportunity for personal growth, working on becoming stronger and more resilient. It's not easy, and there are still days when I feel overwhelmed by sadness and anger. But I'm trying to take it one day at a time, holding on to the hope that eventually, Jacob will see the truth of the situation. Until then, I need to prioritize my own well-being and the health of my marriage. Update 2. It's been about 2 months since my last update, and the situation with Jacob and Jenna has taken an unexpected turn. I found out through my cousin Sarah that Jacob and Jenna have postponed their wedding. Sarah didn't have many details, but she mentioned that there's been a lot of tension between them lately. According to Sarah, Jenna's behavior has started to raise red flags with other people in our family and social circle. Apparently, she's been acting controlling and manipulative in other relationships, not just with me. Some of Jacob's friends have expressed concern about how isolated he's become since getting engaged to Jenna. I'm not sure how to feel about this news. On one hand, I feel a sense of relief that other people are starting to see Jenna's true colors. It validates my own experiences and makes me feel less like I was overreacting or imagining things. But on the other hand, I can't help but feel sad for Jacob. I know how much this engagement meant to him, and I wouldn't wish heartbreak on him, even after everything that's happened between us. About a week ago, I received a text message from Jacob asking if we could talk. I was surprised and a bit hesitant, but I agreed to meet him for coffee. When we met, Jacob seemed different from the last time I saw him. He was quieter, more subdued, and he looked tired. During our conversation, Jacob told me that things haven't been going well with Jenna. He didn't go into much detail, but he admitted that he was starting to see things more clearly. He said that maybe he had been too quick to believe the things Jenna had said about me. While Jacob didn't outright apologize for his behavior, I could tell that he was struggling with regret. He asked about James and how we were doing, and he seemed genuinely relieved when I told him that we were fine and that James had never doubted me. I told Jacob that while I appreciated him reaching out, I wasn't ready to forgive him just yet. Too much had happened, and the trust between us had been severely damaged. I explained that I needed more time to process everything and heal from the hurt he had caused. Jacob seemed to understand. He didn't push for immediate reconciliation, which I appreciated. We left things open-ended, agreeing to take things slow and see how things develop. Since that meeting, I've been reflecting on our conversation and the whole situation. I'm cautiously optimistic that Jacob might be starting to see the truth about Jenna and her manipulations. But I'm also wary of getting my hopes up too much. I've been hurt before, and I need to protect myself. I've discussed the situation with my therapist, and she's helped me set some boundaries for any future interactions with Jacob. We've worked on strategies for communicating assertively and maintaining my emotional well-being if I choose to rebuild a relationship with him. For now, I'm focusing on my own life and my relationship with James. This whole experience has brought us closer together, and I'm grateful for his unwavering support. We've been making an effort to spend quality time together, planning date nights and weekend getaways to reconnect and remind ourselves of what's truly important. I'm also working on strengthening my relationships with other family members and friends who have been supportive throughout this ordeal. I've realized how valuable these connections are, and I don't want to take them for granted. As for Jacob and Jenna, I'm trying to maintain a neutral stance. I'm not actively seeking information about their relationship, but I'm not ignoring it when family members bring it up either. I'm just trying to focus on my own life and let things unfold as they will. It's a difficult balance, caring about Jacob's well-being while also protecting myself from further hurt. But I'm taking it one day at a time, and I'm hopeful that with time, things will become clearer and easier to navigate. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since I last wrote about the situation with Jacob and Jenna, and a lot has changed. The biggest news is that Jacob and Jenna have officially called off their engagement. I found out through our aunt, who called me to share the news and check on how I was doing. From what I've heard, Jacob finally realized the extent of Jenna's manipulations. Apparently, there was a big confrontation where Jacob discovered that Jenna had been lying not just about me, but about several other aspects of their relationship. He moved out of their shared apartment and is currently staying with our parents while he figures out his next steps. A few weeks ago, Jacob reached out to me again. This time, his approach was different. He asked if we could meet in person, and when we did, he offered a full apology for everything that had happened. He told me he was sorry for believing Jenna's lies, for trying to cause problems in my marriage, and for cutting me out of his life. During our conversation, Jacob opened up about his relationship with Jenna. He explained that she had played on his insecurities, and his fear of abandonment, which stemmed from our parents' absence during our childhood. He said that Jenna had convinced him that I was trying to come between them because I was jealous of their relationship and didn't want him to be happy. Jacob admitted that he should have known better than to believe these things about me. He expressed regret for not trusting in our lifelong bond as siblings and for letting Jenna manipulate him into turning against me. He also apologized for the stress he had caused in my marriage with James. While I appreciated Jacob's apology and his honesty, I told him that I wasn't ready to fully let him back into my life yet. The hurt caused by his actions was still fresh, and I needed more time to heal and rebuild trust. I explained that while I was open to working on our relationship, it would need to be a gradual process. Jacob seemed to understand and respect my position. He agreed that we should take things slow and suggested that we could start by having regular phone calls or meeting for coffee occasionally. He also offered to talk to James and apologize to him directly for the lies he had told. Since that conversation, Jacob and I have been in touch more regularly. We've had a few more meetings and have started to rebuild our relationship. It's not the same as it was before, and I'm not sure it ever will be, but we're making progress. This experience has taught me a lot about the importance of trust, communication, and standing up for myself. It's also shown me the value of having a supportive partner like James, who stood by me throughout this difficult time. Moving forward, I'm cautiously optimistic about rebuilding my relationship with Jacob. I'm also focusing on my own personal growth and the relationships that have remained strong throughout this ordeal. While the past year has been challenging, I'm hopeful that the lessons learned will lead to stronger, healthier